And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you all for joining us. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We're waiting for our friend Mark Lauder to join us from the RNC. And sometimes when we have Mark on, we have him on and he's raring to go. And sometimes, so this will be a little touch and go here this morning. But while you were sleeping, a few issues going on. One issue that happened a couple weeks ago that I didn't get a chance to speak to you about, and this New Mexico compound. Did you hear about this? And I'm sure you did, because, look, you're up to date about the issues that matter to you. You're up to date about crime and punishment and self-defense and everything else. But, this disturbing issue where you have 11 children that were living in this New Mexico compound. Now, according to authorities, police say children were being trained to become school shooters. Now, it's confirmed that the body of a 3-year-old, Abdul Ghani Wahi, was found on the complex. His father had taken the boy for a visit to a park near his home in Georgia and never returned. Now, the boy's grandfather, Iman Shura Wahi, says he was the one who tipped police off to what was happening in New Mexico. My goodness gracious, that this could be happening in our country today.
I got a call from a brother, Abdul Rashid, in Atlanta, Georgia. He said Sapana reached out to him and said that we need some food. We're starving. So he called me. What I do, I said, find out where we should send the food. We're going to send the food, and then the information. She did. And we gave it to the police.
Right. And there we have it. But can you believe this? At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, that here we have something that, and how many times have I said this to you? Out of a work of fiction. Now, those of you that know children, which we all do, love children, and want our children to be the very best that they can be, would train them to do some sort of thing, to become a school shooter. This is the evil that we're up against, right? This is the evil that, folks, we're facing each and every day. And I don't mean to wake you up to the chilly willies, and to scare you. But this is something that we need to discuss. And when people say, well, we don't need the Second Amendment, really? We don't need to train people to be armed in schools? We don't need to train people to make sure that we're good to go? We love our friends at Independence Indoor Shooting, where you can go and get trained for the Enhanced Concealed Carry course, where you can go and take care of yourself. But can you believe this New Mexico place where you have all these kids, and you look at what's being taught there, how to become school shooters. And, of course, if you say, well, I don't really like what's going on in that compound, well, you're profiling, you're evil, you're this, you're that. Clearly, there is a disconnect here. I think that we should profile. You can't tell me that the government doesn't already profile. You can't tell me that cyberly our government doesn't already profile us. You take a look at one website, then all of a sudden you're on a list. I can remember one time when myself, Tom Raffetto, our great friend, former colleague of ours, we were on our way to Mountain Home Air Force Base. And Mountain Home Air Force Base, wonderful facility. But you have people that are former military working the front gate. And some people, like security guard Mike, are wonderful people. They're happy, they're accommodating. But Tom Raffetto and I, unfortunately, at 3:30 in the morning, got the wrong people at the gate at Mountain Home Air Force Base. And so what happened? Well, all of a sudden, we were detained for 45 minutes because there we are, driving the KIDO Talk Radio clown car, as I like to call it. They thought that we should, they went through the terror watch list. Now, again, Tom Raffetto's a great guy. I'm a roly-poly. Really? Do you have to make sure? But again, they wanted to prove a point. Now, when we say, well, we don't want to profile people, we don't want to ever be confused of being a racist or any of those natures. Look at what happened in San Bernardino. You have these people that threw a wedding shower for the folks that eventually went on to kill them, right? These are scary times we're living in, and children in this country are being used for this. Clearly, we need more diligence. We need to make sure that people are safe. And as you're waking up, as you're driving in today, when you hear the story about these kids in New Mexico being trained to be school shooters, I agree with Sean Hannity. I agree with Lars Larson. Isn't it time for schools, and here we are, getting ready to go back to school, that we have those schools become hard targets, that the schools have the medical detectors, that the schools have the brave resource officers, and to err on the side of safety. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, right? I mean, how secure, how safe do you feel about your kids going back to school? The school year ended on a rough one for a lot of us, right?
I got a call from a brother named Abdul Rashid in Atlanta, Georgia. He said Sapana reached out to him and said that we need some food. We're starving. So he called me. What I do? I said, find out where we should send the food. We're going to send the food, and then the information. She did, and we gave it to the police.
There we have it. Now, this is not going on in California. This is going on in New Mexico. Right? This is going on in New Mexico. What would happen if you thought it was going on in your neighborhood? Do you think that you would have the guts to make a run and to call the authorities? And I believe in our law enforcement here in Idaho. I believe that if you said, look, there's some bad characters going on, there's some bad actors going on over in that house, you need to go investigate. I believe our law enforcement would take care of it. In other parts of the country, I'm not so sure. And think about how the school year ended last year, right? Now, you believe the media and every school in the city and the state under siege. You believe the school officials, when you go into the schools, it's business as usual, right? But how secure, how safe do you feel when you're thinking about this? Think about that at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. By the way, you heard at the top of the hour, Vermont has nominated the first transgender governor.
I must say I'm incredibly honored to have all your support, and all the things that I heard were said. Tonight we made history. We've already made history. And I'm so honored to be recognized, to be part of this, to be part of this historical moment, I guess.
Right. I'm just going to leave it for you. Again, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I'm going to leave it for you. Does it feel like history to you? We've had races in Wisconsin, in Kansas, in Kentucky, in Vermont. But I always thought it wasn't really your race or your gender or anything else. It's your ideas that should matter. It's what are you going to do for the people of the country? Now, does folks in Vermont really represent, like the people here in Idaho? Do they? I don't think so. Now, remember, we have a couple of transgenders that have run for office here. Nobody had a problem with that, did they? Nobody had a problem with transgender people running. But there you have it in Vermont, where all of a sudden people are saying, this is history. And I suppose if people want to elect people on their gender reclassification, so be it. But does it feel like history to you? Now, me, in my opinion, I have my own biases. Look, the best person should win. But on the other hand, it is my personal belief, in my opinion, that God has created us to be who we are. And just like when you start messing with genetics and everything else, I think you're playing God. Those are my personal and religious beliefs. And at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I'm not feeling the history. So 2 big questions for you today. And again, I apologize. I've hogged the time. However, number 1, when we're taking a look at the situation that happened in New Mexico, where people found out that 11 kids were trained to be school shooters, how does that make you feel? Number 1, how safe are the schools getting ready to go back to school? And this idea of a transgender being a governor. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. All right, blessed to be part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers, you got them. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And this is a story that I wrote about recently at KIDOTalkRadio.com. And I said, forget about the governor's race. It's already over. The governor's race is really already over. Well, Kevin Miller, why do you say that? There's a recent poll coming out, Betsy Russell doing her very best to rally up political sport in one of the dead times of the year from the Idaho Press, citing a new poll saying that Paulette Jordan is within 8 points of the Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. Right? Does anybody really believe that Paulette Jordan is going to beat Brad Little? Does anybody really believe that there are 8 percentage points difference between Brad Little and Paulette Jordan? In a state where, Idaho Republicans outnumber Democrats 3, 4, 6, 7, 20-1. Now, I know there are a lot of libs in the city of Boise, and if you're a conservative in the city of Boise, I'm so sorry. I wish somehow we could send in the great conservative masses to wash out the blueness, if you will. But is Boise enough to carry the entire state? I don't think so. Paulette Jordan, we've reached out to a few times. She's given us the Heisman. You can read about this at KIDOTalkRadio.com. But I opine she's given us the so-called Heisman. You know what the Heisman Trophy is? The pose where you have the guy running with the football and he's got his arm out, the stiff arm. And that's great. This show has been founded on the people, not the politicians. Now, she's a great story nationally, and you have a lot of people that used to do this, where you would have people coming in and doing a lot of national press, but not much about the local press, right? You see that with Boise State. They'll make, in the old days, Kyle Brotzman available to Tom Rinaldi of ESPN, but won't make Kyle Brotzman available to the local media when he missed a couple field goals, right? Of course, nobody ever talks about that, but that's how the game is played. Paulette Jordan appearing on all these things. She's a blue warrioress in a red state that is going nowhere. Say what you want about the lieutenant governor. He is run statewide. He is well-financed. He is beloved by the business community. He has the backing of Governor Otter, the Otter PAC, the Otters, the Friends of Otter. He survived a tenacious primary between 2 qualified, tough, hard-hitting opponents. Tommy Ahlquist, Dr. Ahlquist, and Congressman Labrador. If Brad Little can survive that, and the Republican Party, by the way, is not fractured as it's been in previous years. It is united. The last thing that they want to see is a Democrat running the state. That's just not going to happen. Now, again, I'm sorry to be poo-pooing this so early. And it's funny because, the audience that follows social media is very much more progressive than our audience here. And people are saying, look, Paulette Jordan's going to win. It's going to be a big upset. She's going to be the female Barack Obama of Idaho. And I'm reading these comments thinking to myself, I just don't see it happening. And the idea of Medicaid expansion being the silver bullet, well, if you take a look at what Governor Otter has done, the lieutenant governor has done, they've tried to get that on the ballot. People are voting for it. If that's going to be a big issue, it might bankrupt the state. It might do some other things. But realistically, can anybody see Brad Little losing? And again, I hate to appear overconfident. I just don't see that happening. 580-5436, 580-KIDO, 624. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work. So again, I get back to this issue. And maybe some would call it fake news. Maybe some would call it a way of getting the political muscles all warmed up again. Look, remember, and I told you at the time, I said during this primary season, we're going to look back on this as the good times. And the politicians are going, man, I'm tired. Well, they should be tired. They should be working. Yesterday, we had our friend Mark call in, complaining about gas prices going up in Idaho, 30 cents in the last 2 weeks? 30 cents in the last 2 weeks. And what's the answer? Well, we can have people give us these answers back and forth, or we can ask our politicians. I can remember when we had these folks in, and again, we had them on more than anybody else because you have to, because as soon as they get elected, as soon as they move on, well, what do? Well, they have other things to do, right? But the high cost of gasoline. Now, we're not that far from Silicon Valley, where they've come up with solutions to problems we didn't even know existed. Is it too much to ask that we look at reducing the cost of doing business here in the state of Idaho? I feel for our friend Pat from Middleton that doesn't call in but feels obligated to Facebook message me all the time about what's going on with Cindy. Pat, call in the program. But Pat works hard every day, is a good man, a great man. And when I look at these politicians, and when I look at the ads, when I look at Paulette Jordan's promises, what is she going to deliver? You know what you're getting with the lieutenant governor, not to turn this into an infomercial for him. However, if you're a person running for lieutenant governor, if you're running for governor, what is the plan? Well, it's more of the same, or it's going to be different, right? And again, gasoline prices, healthcare prices, these are nonpartisan issues that hit across every spectrum. Every spectrum. Right? And perhaps we're too busy enjoying the lake, enjoying the RVs, enjoying everything else, and not thinking to ourselves, what's the long-term ramifications of that little pipeline from Salt Lake to the Treasure Valley, to the state of Idaho? And those of you that have been to the Oregon coast outside of Pendleton, you see these big, huge solar farms. Now, again, I'm speaking out of ignorance here. Do we have those in Idaho? I'm sure that we do. But you talk about relieving some of the burden on the grid. If we have the surplus, and by the way, I want to thank the folks at the former HP place. You are mowing the lawn off Chinden there. We don't have to shame you so much. It could be a little better, like when HP held the property and actually cared. The lawns were manicured and groomed. Now, still a little fuzzy the last time I looked. Sorry, got off topic. Back to the topic, though. Where's the innovation? In the world of self-driving cars, solar-powered homes, why are we so dependent on a pipeline from Salt Lake? And maybe you don't want your government involved in it. All right, Pete from Mount Home is saving me from another Miller monologue on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Kevin. I had a couple thoughts on Paulette Jordan. I'm sure her first thought of a campaign slogan was "Make Idaho Venezuela," and then she may have figured that was a little too radical. So I think now it's going to be "Make Idaho California," because that kind of captures what she wants to do.
We're seeing that right now, aren't we?
Yeah, and I would also like to add, going back to yesterday, the discussion of In God We Trust and the separation of church and state. And what's going on there when you look at the people who are trying to get God out of America, there's a reason for that. And you go to the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And the left figures if you can get God out of that equation, then your rights come from the government. And if the government gives them to you, they can take them away from you. And our belief in this country up till now has been no, our rights come from God. The government cannot take those rights away from us, which is the Bill of Rights. That's why it's in there, to remind the government that it cannot take those rights away. But I firmly believe that the left in this country, the reason they want to get God out of our houses, our schools, and our daily life is so they can tell us your rights come from the government and we can take them away from you because we're the government. And that's, I think, what we really need to be concerned about.
Well, we see that with the Democrats, and, we saw that under Obama.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we bitter clingers. And they know that they also know that the real reason for the Second Amendment is the only duty mentioned in the Bill of Rights. And for those who aren't familiar with it, when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government.
Well, and imagine what they would do with Jefferson today based on those writings.
Oh, they'd hang him. Well, no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't hang him. They would send him to a re-education center.
Ha! Yes, they would. Yes, they would.
They want us to go.
And all they would, and you'd have to recite, "Thank you, Obama."
Yeah. But, yeah, that's, when you look at the progressive left in this country, and to them, progression is getting rid of the Constitution and having the government, because the government, of course, is composed of really, really expert, elite, wonderful people who know what's best for us, and they get to tell us how to live. And anyone who wants to know where that goes, there's a book by Friedrich Hayek that he wrote in the 1940s called The Road to Serfdom.
Right.
And that's where you end up under socialism. You end up a serf.
Well, and look, we came very close to it under Obama.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Yeah, you talk about somebody who was making the laws up as he went along, and heck, all you have to do is look at what happened with the FBI and the IRS and all those agencies.
Sure.
They're beyond and above the law, and that whole attitude of theirs. The firing of Mr. Strzok, which was way overdue. You'll hear the media yapping about how the chief of resources in the FBI said, or chief human resources said he should only be on 60 days suspension without pay. It turns out she apparently is a Hillary supporter who actually worked actively on Hillary's campaign, which I would mention is a violation of the Hatch Act for a federal employee to do that.
I would agree.
Anyway, that's my rant for the morning, Kevin, and I really appreciate you being there, and I'm really glad KIDO was there.
Well, I appreciate it, and remember, Ohio, where all good things come from.
Yeah, really. Except the humidity.
You're right about that, brother. See you, Pete. Coming up next, Liberal Steve. Oh, boy. You're listening to Kevin on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Joined now by Liberal Steve. Good morning, Liberal Steve.
Miller in the morning. His callers always mess up my mind. I heard a rumor. Now, this is just a rumor, and it's, my friends are all a little mentally challenged in different ways. One friend I was talking to yesterday told me that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, called his wife because of what she wore coming off the plane, these bronze-tight leather pants, called his wife a low-life dog. Is that true, Kevin, on a tweet? You're up to date on all that stuff.
That's not true.
Well, who did he call a low-life dog?
Now you know the answer to that.
No, I don't. I've been very busy. Who did he call a low-life dog?
That would be Omarosa.
Oh, the black lady that worked for him. The one that the book came out the other day. That liberal Steve couldn't wait till the door opened so he could snag it.
And have you bought it yet? Big time?
Well, I went in and stole it. Since when do I buy anything? Nobody was looking. I put it under my jacket and walked out. Hey, Kevin, is there any way possible that you can play the tape back when I called and talked to Senator Crapo, our tipsy driving senator, about hemp in 2005, why he voted no way back then, why he voted no on the farm bill, which said we can't grow hemp. And now all my buddies and all my big people and everything, we all came together. We kept pushing. Now we finally got it coming in to the United States and the state of Idaho where every farmer can grow it. And now the Idaho State is writing about it. The Farm Bureau people are talking about it. It's such a great rotation crop, and it's going to be so great for Idaho. And Senator Crapo said on your show to me, Idaho people do not want hemp.
Well, I still think the vast majority of the Idaho people don't want hemp. You know, the other day, and I'm sure you were listening, we got into this about... I'm sorry. No worries. It's just you and me.
Kevin. What were you saying there?
We got into this the other day. The people of Idaho, besides a small vocal minority, do not want the legalization of the marijuana. The people of Idaho agree with Kevin Miller and the lieutenant governor that that's not going to happen here.
We didn't say marijuana, did we, Kevin? We said hemp.
Hemp is a gateway to marijuana.
Oh, okay. See, your ignorance, it really throws it out there when you
My
talk like
ignorance
that.
is welcome to the people that proudly love America.
That's why now the farmers are all excited, and we're bringing it into the state.
No, that's the challenge, though, of farming in this state. We're getting rid of the farmers. And I feel bad for the farmers. There's not.
We got rid of the. Come on.
I guess I made a mistake by taking a breath again. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You throw stuff out there. We got rid of the farmers. That Farm Aid goes way back to the 80s with Willie Nelson. We got rid of.
I was trying to prove my point before you rather rudely cut me off.
Well, we didn't get rid of the farmers. We got rid of
Here's a third tip. Are you going to let me finish my point?
Well, go ahead.
Thank you. You're a little feisty this morning. Maybe you need to take some hemp. My point being that we're getting rid of the farmers. We're replacing them with subdivisions. Now, I don't know if these subdivisions are ever going to be able to replace the food and the livelihood and the sustenance that the farmers provide for us, but we're going to find out here soon.
Oh, that is such a fallacy, getting rid of the farmers because of the subdivisions. What do they take up?
We are. Let's get rid of the farmers and replace them with a cul-de-sac. How fun.
Well, so what? We got lots of room for farms.
You reap what you sow. Look, we can't even support our farmers that are doing the good stuff. I don't see farming for hemp. I don't see it happening.
Kevin, the little farmer is gone, whether in little subdivisions in Boise, Meridian, Eagle, Idaho. They take up a little bit of corn, a little bit of soybean, a little bit of mint, a few onions here and there. We got lots and lots of land, and big 5,000, 6,000 acre farmers like myself that belong to corporations and stuff, that hire people and take care of people and give them insurance and everything. We got rid of the little family farmer like the strawberry guy that calls in all the time on your show. Come on. They're not making any money for anybody. They're not employing anybody. They're not buying chemicals. They're not paying for aerial spraying. That's us. That's us, the big people that brought hemp into Idaho. And it's great. And so why do you keep saying the little guy, the little farmer? That's like not even small business.
Right. In your world, sacrifice everything for the goddess hemp.
Hey, do you want jobs? Keep saying, oh, Trump's bringing in jobs. Trump brought in hemp.
If you'd listened to Lars Larson the other day, he said, look, Kevin Miller, you are right. What's happened to Oregon is reprehensible. You have all these people coming in, the stinky marijuana people, stinking up the state, putting more burden on the infrastructure that wasn't prepared for them.
Your knowledge of stinky up the state marijuana nowadays and the cannabis and how advanced they are and everything is so stupid, Miller. If you would have visited some of your stores there that I have in Lincoln and up and down the coast in Newport and Toledo and all over, you would realize that they have tons of vapors. They have tons of oils. You can light it. I could be standing within 2 feet of you and light that thing up.
You
wouldn't even smell it.
Yeah, I would. First of all, number one. Number two, let me just say this. Look, you talk about these oils, but they're illegal in Idaho.
So what?
So what? The laws don't matter. Clearly, we are obeying federal law as opposed to the lawbreakers in Oregon, the lawbreakers in Colorado, the lawbreakers in Washington. I'm urging my good friend, the Attorney General of the United States, to go in there and shut down those pot farms.
Little miniature man, who Trump's been trying to fire ever since he put him in place. You're talking about this guy? He's going to get rid of us, the big business in the world, the ones that give him a job, the ones that decide whether the cartel can come in or the cartel can't come in.
I thought you were retired.
I've come out of the dust. I'm back making America even greater than great.
Well, we appreciate your lovely insight this morning.
You know what Paulette Jordan's going to do for Idaho?
Do you want to make a little wager on that? You've lost the last 3.
We already made our wager. Did you forget?
Yes.
The steak at a 5-star?
Yeah.
Paulette Jordan is going to put pot in every planter. And that's a fact, you lowlife. I won't say it. Oh, no, that's what the president talks like. I don't talk like the president. And why are people so worried about God? Does God...
Sometimes you just need a minute to clear your head. 649 KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. We'd love to hear from you. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Good morning.
I think the greatest concern we have is the lack of integrity that this individual has shown. The president addressed that question directly via Twitter. I'd refer you back to him. I can certainly say I've never heard him use that term or anything similar. I'm not going to get into the back and forth on who has signed an NDA here at the White House. I can tell you that it's common in a lot of places for employees to sign NDAs, including in government, particularly anyone with a security clearance. The president wanted to give her a chance, and he made clear when General Kelly came on, and he voiced concerns that this individual didn't have the best interests of the White House and the president and the country at heart. The president said, do what you can to get along, and if you can't, he gave him full authority to carry out the decision to let her go. The president is certainly voicing his frustration with the fact that this person has shown a complete lack of integrity, particularly by the actions following her time here at the White House.
And there we have it. Sarah Sanders laying the smackdown about Omarosa. We'll get to her. By the way, speaking of Sarah, a young lady just Facebooked me on the Kevin Miller Show page. Kevin, I heard the Miller Minute yesterday about how Paulette Jordan was only 8 points behind Brad Little, and you mentioning that this is false because Idaho is predominantly Republican, and there's no way she'll win. This scares me. And, by the way, again, Sarah, we write about this at KIDOTalkRadio.com. I'm seeing liberal friends post on Facebook messages about Jordan and her campaign rallies and how many Californians and millennials are coming to her events. With the changes in the population of Idaho, with Californians and people from other states rapidly moving here, it may be closer than we think. We really need to promote for everyone to go vote for Little, even if they feel he's a shoo-in. While Little is not my favorite, Jordan is downright scary. Just my thoughts. Well, Sarah, I agree with you. And she says, don't let our conservative guard down. I think there is, just like in Star Wars, the Sith. And in my opinion, the liberals are the Sith here. However, I can't see Paulette Jordan beating Brad Little right now, especially how, for lack of a better term, well, I'll say how efficient the Little campaign was in handling challengers Dr. Ahlquist and Congressman Labrador. And we'll get to that more about that throughout the morning at 580-5436. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time with